recording?
Let me get ours started. I'm recording, but
Okay. Calling meeting to order. Today's Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. The time is 4:40.
You're talking to your mics.
The time is 4:46. We have a verification of meeting notice.
yes, it was posted 24 hours in advance here at our office and online.
All right. Roll call, Michelle?
I'll
I'm
do
an
it.
Ashley do it.
Justin Cash, Todd DeLon.
Here.
Chance Kinchin,
I'm here.
Mary Gito,
Here.
Kayla Morgan,
Here.
John Exnicius.
Here.
Hillary Rocek.
All right. Do we have any amendments to the agenda to discuss?
Not that I know of. Do you have
No.
any minutes?
All right. Then let's take a look at minutes from March 12th, 2025. Does anybody have any change on those? Comments? If not,
I'd like to,
Yeah.
make a motion that we approve the minutes for March
Second.
12th, 2025.
Second.
all right.
Okay. Justin Cash, Todd DeLon,
Yes.
Chance Kinchin,
Yep.
Mary Gito,
Yes.
Kayla Morgan,
Yes.
John Exnicius.
Yes.
Sorry, I said your name a little weird. Hillary Rocek.
All right, next up, minutes from March 31st, 2025. You may review them. Any changes? And if not, a motion.
You're motioning.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from March 31st, 2025.
Second that one also.
Okay. Justin Cash, Todd DeLon,
Yes.
Chance Kinchin,
Yes.
Mary Gito,
Yes.
Kayla Morgan,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Yes.
Hillary Rocek.
All right, next up, the financial statement. Michelle, is there anything notable that you want to point out on this?
Well, I was going to talk about it in the budget, but upon looking at our property tax
Send me a picture.
revenue for what we projected this year, I noticed that it was still seeming a little bit low in the checks. We hadn't actually received a check according to our deposit records since September. So I went ahead and I called today the sheriff's office just to see what was going on. A couple of checks had been mailed to the city directly, and they deposited 2 of them to our account, but there was a check around, it was like $46,000 that was for January or February that was not applied to our account. So they're looking at to see where that check is. So between the checks that I know that are coming, we'll have an additional around $50,000 in revenue applied the next time you review, the next time we meet. And then we might have some additional little checks here and there, but that exceeds our projection for the fiscal year of $380,000 of property tax revenue. So I felt like those numbers had been small, and that explains why. I did actually ask them to update our mailing address, so now they'll mail those checks directly to our office rather than mailing them to the city. We handle our own deposits anyway, so there's no need for them to mail them to the city. They're made out to us. They say the Downtown Development District, so they
Do we
don't.
know how much the one that they didn't deposit in our account is?
It's $46,000.
That's the 46,000.
Yes.
Okay, so just for clarity, how much above the 380 projection?
We'll see that in the,
Oh,
yeah, I have that number in the budget.
okay.
But that's kind of an update there on the revenue side of things. Nothing else really of note here.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the March budget as of March 31st, 2025.
Second.
Justin Cash, Todd DeLon,
Yes.
Chance Kinchin,
Yes.
Mary Gito,
Yes.
Kayla Morgan,
Yes.
John Exnicius.
Yes.
Hillary Roderick.
All right. Next up, Director's Report.
I think the biggest item for my director's report is the meeting that Todd, Chance, John, and I had with the mayor and Charles and the chief of police yesterday. I did include our list of items that we were communicating to the city of needs for downtown, specifically leveraging the $350,000 state appropriation that has been allocated to the city from Representative Muscarello. You can see all those items listed there. I will welcome those who attended to provide any insight that they would like to update the board on that meeting. But the short of it is that we don't have any firm commitments to any of the items listed.
Yeah, I would say that is short of it too. I guess my not really anything to say, but just going forward, what is our follow-up plan to, I guess, get a commitment for this money to be directed in the way that we are advising? So, what do you think? What do we think the best strategy of that is? To go back to them and see where we're at on it. They have time to let it simmer. You know,
Right now, the allocation is Chuck Spangler, the city engineer, is, per Charles, he said basically they're looking at the city's capital outlay plan to see how those funds are best utilized with the capital outlay plan. I don't know what's in the capital outlay plan specifically as it relates to downtown. So if there's some natural follow-ups on my end on that, and particularly with budgeting for the upcoming fiscal year, we are included in the city's budget hearing, and I think it would be wise for me to attend the bulk of that conversation, just so we're a part of what they're planning, at least for the upcoming fiscal year. We did agree, Charles and I did agree that some follow-ups with Nikki jointly would be beneficial so that we can get on the same page about if he has any desires and wishes for it. We had already previously discussed Kate Street, so hopefully we're able to move the funds in a direction that we would like to move them in. But we will, since the money has not been dedicated yet to any one area or project, I think there's still opportunity to inform what the end result is.
okay, so maybe the next step would be to see when Nikki's availability is, since he's probably a busy guy, to see when we get y'all both there. Okay. So is that something you're gonna head up, I'm assuming, or Charles, or?
I mean, I have a separate business to tend to with Representative Muscarello regarding Main Street Day at the Capitol. I do have his personal cell phone number, and I've already made contact.
Okay, so I'll just get something on
I mean, and
schedule.
if we can't set up an in-person meeting, we could set up an email group and try to accomplish things. Maybe just a conversation to get it going a little quicker than trying to physically have a meeting and then everybody just throwing out things.
Yeah, and he's in session right now, so.
Yeah, he's in session, so it might be a,
At least his vision for the funds, and I think that's the thing we talked about, is what is his vision for the funds? And then the city will act on whatever he says his desire for the funds are, and I think that would set the wheels in motion. And if we're all on the same page, then we'll probably all.
Okay, so with the next plan of action, to reach out to him and ask him for something in writing, what he wants done, so that that Charles can see it? Okay. All right.
I mean, like, in our meeting, we never really were able to get the point across of, yes, we talked about, yeah, we want to overlay the parking lots and all that, but we never even really got into like drainage and all of those details because there were so many other emotions with the other things we were talking about. You know, so maybe, that's why I say, especially with Nikki's schedule, you know, it might be easier if we can have an email thread to communicate some information across better than for his wishes of it. And maybe the conversation can be started a little quicker that way.
When I last left Charles, he did express that he would prefer to lead that communication with Representative Muscarello However, I have reached out to Nicholas Muscarello about other items because I need to. So since this money is allocated to the city, we have been asked out of respect to have them lead that communication with Representative Muscarello. So I will wait until I hear from him personally about those other matters, and I think we'll play it by ear and follow suit with the city.
Is there a time frame on when it needs to be decided?
They are requesting an extension for the funds to be spent because I believe that they were supposed to be spent by June.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, from the conversation, the city does not have that at the forefront of, like,
I think the most important thing is that we are making active effort to ensure that this. He's actually calling me now. Oh, I'm gonna go take that.
Well, that being said, we can move to the next.
Yeah, yeah, we can,
All right.
wrap
The
that up
next,
when
come
she's
back
done.
to this?
Yeah,
Okay, so the,
next is staff report.
yes,
I'll go
staff
first.
reports, please.
I'm gonna go through mine pretty quickly. Just things that I have been working on and am continuing to work on. Getting the Road Home event website page up on our account was a big thing I was handling these past couple weeks, and making sure we have an account to place the funds for the event. That's all now set up, so we've been able to deposit sponsorship checks and stuff like that. So that's all good. We're good there. In our last meeting with LA, we discussed some like minor issues we were having with like doing things with the website, specifically like on our end, trying to add things and things on the back end that need some work. So tomorrow I'm gonna reach back out to Esther, who LA connected us with, get some pricing, because she does charge for some of that stuff. So hopefully we can get those things resolved quickly and cheaply with her. So I'll be doing that, handling that tomorrow. We've been working on getting the last round of bricks, which we'll have one more after this, but we have about 50, or I think more than 50, bricks that needs to be installed and engraved. So they are currently being engraved at the engraver. I think, I'm still waiting on them to respond to, I was trying to get freight costs for them to ship them to us, so that I can get an installation date set up. But I think I'm just gonna go ahead and get an installation date set up, because she gave us an estimate of like the 25th, I think, of this month. So we're gonna try and get them installed at the very end of this month. But I need to reach out to Mudbugs tomorrow about installation. I've been working with Heather on the Historic District walking tour. We did the tour, last week or the week before, I think, and we kind of went through it and talked about some things, some stops we wanted to add, some information we wanted to add, so we're working on that. And then just dealing with some merch items with Terry, trying to get some stuff ready for the marketing committee next month. We're gonna be sending out a merchant survey to everybody tomorrow in our merchant newsletter, trying to get everybody, all of our businesses on board with like conferences and stuff that are coming in and all the events that we're putting on. And then I finish up the Main Street quarterly report today, and we have some stuff we have to work out with our loan program with USDA, so that's another thing I'll be looking at tomorrow, because we have to report all of that stuff to them. So I have to get our account back in order.
So I re-compliance with USDA for our loan fund.
Yeah.
But it's in working order.
Do we have any comments about any of this? Any comments from the public? I don't think so.
It's your turn, Dara.
All right.
We'll be getting some email communication from Representative Muscarello, connecting us with the city in support of what we'd like to do with the money. We also, so we'll be following up with that, and then I need to send him our statute via text right now, so I'm gonna do that.
All right, good.
Okay. I'm gonna kind of go through it, and then you can add anything you want after, or does that sound good for this?
Kayla?
Yeah, for the events.
Yeah, you can go through it.
I have a couple more things. Well,
You wanna can we jump back to yours?
I'll send him the statute yeah, I'll finish mine,
Yeah.
and then I'll send the statute when we do that, but I need to, please remember to tell me, I'm not gonna forget to do it, but I might. Right now, I need to do it after I'm done.
Okay, so now we're doing, what are we doing?
I'm just gonna go back to mine really quick.
Okay.
I did follow up with, some next steps that did come out of that meeting is, we'll be following up with DOTD to coordinate our intersection redesign project, with the ADA assessment project that is currently underway with DOTD. So we'll be coordinating those scopes of work, and looping in Charles into that conversation so that we have city representation as we are communicating with our agencies. So we will be able to hopefully get that moving a little bit more next week. Holly and Smith is the contract for our intersection redesign project, and that is a contract through the Louisiana Main Street Managers Association, not a contract between the DDD and Holly and Smith. Just want to make sure that is known. That's a grant from Louisiana Main Street. We will be hosting Senator Kennedy's office for a tour of downtown on Monday, April 28th. Really, any board member is welcome to come as long as it's as long as 3 or under. Can't be a quorum. But
Is he coming?
What was that?
I'm playing.
Is he coming?
He is more than likely not coming, but it is his office regional representative, Caroline Thoreau. She is based out of Mandeville, and this is actually a really strategic partnership for our state coordinating program, Louisiana Main Street, as they work with our national program, Main Street America, to have federal funding for the Main Street programs across the nation. It's a really great opportunity for us to showcase the work of a Main Street program, and the support that we have here locally and everything that's done for our downtown. So it's a really good opportunity for us. We don't necessarily have an ask for their office at this time, but through the effort of building a relationship and ensuring that we are teeing that up for future opportunities, I'm really excited about this for our organization. We've extended the invitation to the City of Hammond, the Historic District, and Louisiana Main Street, so there will be representation from those 3 entities there as well. We'll probably have a walking tour that's around 2 hours, and then our plan is to end with lunch. So it's gonna be from 10:30 to 1. And we are excited to at least host Caroline and any other staff that he has within his office.
Hopefully the weather's good. I don't know if maybe check on that. I'm not sure the quorum thing would be an issue with something business related. We're not meeting to talk about this, you know? Because I know you can
y'all want
go.
to come, do all y'all?
I'm planning to come.
Yeah, I mean, if
He
there's
was
more than,
coming. I was gonna do
I had plans to come,
I
but
was gonna do some snacks and stuff at the restaurant.
Well, we need to figure out a place to eat for lunch, so
We're not open on Mondays, but I can make it work. You know, I mean, I thought if he was coming.
how many people will be there?
1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, I don't want it to be a large group. I think the most I would want is around like 12.
I could figure out something. I mean, I don't know what the conflict of interest would be with that.
We just couldn't pay you.
I mean, the DDD couldn't pay
I
for
couldn't
it.
pay you.
I mean,
Is everybody paying for their own lunch?
We were going to pay for the lunch. We were gonna pay for everyone to have lunch.
Then you can't, yeah.
It can't be at my place.
So I have to figure out a place for lunch.
I just wanted to talk to the guy.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh.
So that's an opportunity for us. Also, in March, Senator Cassidy was in town. He went to the Crescent, and I had an opportunity to meet him. Kathy Stewart is his regional representative. So we have lots of governmental affairs popping up, springing up this spring. Made great contact with Senator Wheat a couple of weeks ago in preparation for Main Street Day at the Capitol. We are working with Louisiana Main Street in support of continuing their appropriation that is funding our technical assistance grant for the intersection redesign. So we are benefiting from it because we get to do this work, and we are supporting our state partner in helping our other communities across the state. So say it's good work for our program and staff to be a part of. Only other item here, if anyone would like to attend Main Street Day at the Capitol, is Monday, May 5th. We will be our staff is going to go and we'll have a presence there. We're scheduling to have meetings with Representative Muscarello and Senator Wheat for a photo op on the Capitol steps, and then there will be a concurrent resolution in the House and the Senate to acknowledge the day. And
How long of a day is that? What is the time?
it depends how interactive we are, but it usually is around 4 hours.
Okay, from what time to what time?
I don't have the firm times
Okay.
yet, but it usually is probably, I would say, like 9 to like 1.
Okay.
So we'll be in touch with more details about that.
Cinco de Mayo, margaritas. Y'all can party that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have margaritas out there.
And some business updates here. It's been a very busy spring for downtown. We've filled some vacancy. Some of this has not been announced by the businesses, but we have made contact with them. So I'll just kind of let you read some of this here. But we do have several new things that are popping up this spring and summer. We did experience some closure, Safari Quest and Isabella's Pizza on Hewitt Road. I did check in with our businesses over there, True Juice and Bayou Bounce, just to see how they were doing, because since that new construction went up on the frontage side, there had been concerns that they weren't totally sure how that would affect them. So that's one piece of it, but I think that property just generally needs to be redeveloped. So just checked in on them, just see if they needed anything, so that check-in was done, at least. Safari Quest and Isabella's Pizza kind of took us by surprise. We just saw it on social media, so I don't know if y'all had contact with any of them. Last time we had contact with Isabella's Pizza and Safari Quest was probably last year for Hot August. Isabella's participated in Hot August. They sold pizza, but they had different managers all the time, so it was really kind of hard to keep contact with them over there. And Safari Quest closing, that was one of our family attractions, so that when we're thinking about some of our other available spaces, we want to be thinking about other family-friendly entertainment to fill that gap.
Have you heard about, is that golf place doing any good?
Yeah, they were advertising and then there's nothing saying when it opens, and I've called, there's no number. I looked on their Facebook and they're advertising all these specials and there's nothing at all saying,
They're open.
it's not open now, I don't know when it's.
That's
supposed to
strange.
open. It's
Okay.
very odd.
It's a big place too, man. Have they contacted, do you have any
Yes,
contact?
we've had contact with them for probably at least 16 months. Brian, what's his name? Brian Isep is the owner. So every time I've spoken to him, he said they're getting close, but we can have contact with them to see if we can get an update.
Just to mention, when my building got hit, I was talking to my tenant, Hotworks, asked him how he's doing. He said he's doing well, but he's like, my Slidell location is better than the Hammond one. But I did,
Hotworks?
yeah. But I did kind of tee him up to say to engage with you guys,
Well, we would love that contact info because historically they're not very easy to contact.
And it's because he's not a local guy, I would imagine, so I'll text you his number. There's two of them,
That
so,
would be great.
okay. And I think that would just be a good practice if we're ever finding out anybody's needing a little push or whatever, downtime, just to kind of inform everybody, so. All right, is there any other things?
The Bayou Buddha and Lucky Dogs are looking at moving?
It was owned by Roland Guilford. He is the one that opened both of those whenever they did that redevelopment of the gas station. When I contacted him recently, he mentioned that he had sold it about 6 months ago and that they were potentially going to be closing those locations. And he was supposed to send me the new information for the owner, but he hadn't done that yet, so I just need to follow up with him. So he just mentioned that it would potentially be closing. Excuse me.
This is not on that, but I just wanted to say, I know on here you had something about the pavilion, potentially planning the grand opening ceremony in June.
I mentioned to you before about the new Octavians Theater Group,
Yes.
which is right outside of downtown, but it's a community group with kids, and they do fabulous work. They did Legally Blonde last weekend at Columbia Theater, and it was unbelievable. They had 47 kids in the production. It was so good. But they have offered, if there's anything they can do, like at the grand opening, or if you need people to sing the national anthem, or sing something else, or whatever, they would love to help, and they would love to have the visibility. So if there's anything like that, they could help with, let me know, and I can coordinate with them.
Yeah, I love that.
They would not have 47 kids, they'd probably have 10, but still good.
Right. Yes, thanks, Mary. Yeah, they got rained out when they were supposed to come to the market.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, we can definitely plan that again. And the last thing on here, the Lighthouse Coastal Brasserie will have a ribbon cutting on Thursday, May 1st, starting at 3 p.m. We are inviting Louisiana Main Street and the Lieutenant Governor to that ribbon cutting. The project was the recipient of a Main Street Restoration grant, so we are trying to celebrate all of the aspects of it, including, just obviously how beautiful and nice it is in there. We're very thankful for Sol's investment in downtown. So, yes, we'd like all of our board members to be there.
Come.
So,
What day's that? I'm sorry.
Thursday, May 1st at 3 p.m.
May 1st, okay.
And that is everything for me for now.
Saw Bento took some stuff down.
Yes, they're
Ready?
getting close. They're still waiting on fire marshal.
I
But-
think those guys are great. I just, man, I feel bad for them because I know they've been paying rent.
Yes, they have.
Shit.
All right.
Supposed to open.
Back to Dara. Dara, I mean, sorry.
I will never forget.
I know, sorry.
Okay. All right. So the first thing you're going to look at on my report is the top 5 posts from March on Facebook. That was the women-owned businesses, the dog-friendly businesses, which actually surprised me a little bit. Black-owned businesses, board of directors, and then the sidewalk reopening, which also kind of surprised me. If you scroll down, you can see the top 5 for Instagram. Naturally, it's a weekend roundup. The women-owned businesses again, the DDD merch, another weekend roundup, and once again, surprisingly, sidewalk reopening. I don't know why people were
People love
excited about the sidewalk.
infrastructure.
They were also
walkability.
they were
Love
also
it.
really angry about RAM. They just picked
Oh,
that
yeah.
post to be angry
If
under.
you say one thing related to infrastructure, it's like, oh yeah, you did that. Well, look at this.
Why
pothole.
haven't you
Look at
done
all these other things
Yeah.
that need to be done.
Thank you for engaging, everyone. Moving on to MailChimp, we have 2,995 followers, but we got about a 20-ish
Which
open
that-
rate.
That is average. That is actually high on the average rate, and the click rate is actually high on the average rate. So for every 100 emails, 2.6 people click on a link to it. So that's all within average right now.
I'm feeling a lot better about
The
this.
national average is, for click-through, is 15 to, open rate's 15 to 25%, and click-through is 2.6. So literally, right on the money.
I feel a lot better. Thank you.
Where do you get that information?
That's what I'm
Where do
here
we
for.
get that, where do we get that
These
information?
are marketing professionals.
No, I mean, I know, I didn't know if there's like a,
I mean, you can Google it,
okay.
John, but yeah, that's what I do,
Okay.
so.
Well, I know you do it, I'm just curious.
I've been, Darren and I have been working very closely together, like we speak once a week, so we're kind of, our big goal right now is to bring back stats on the site, the branding, the work that we're doing to show how we're implementing the message, right, for that consistency. So we're really looking a lot at numbers. We have some more on that. Keep going, Darren.
And you're much better at numbers than I am, so that works. And then, looks like the barbecue fest, I was really hoping that was gonna pique some interest. So I don't know if people aren't interested in barbecue or maybe don't like women-owned businesses, but who knows, maybe it's both. So that one went a little down, but that's okay. Hopefully we'll get them back up. I'm interested to see how the road home does next month. And then going on to website, you can see a couple of our top cities that are viewing us. I just went with Louisiana because thought everything else was irrelevant. Baton Rouge is super interested in us. Ponchatoula, obviously a lot of people are going to come into the bigger city. But Baton Rouge, Slidell, New Orleans, I'm really excited to see like bigger cities interested in what is happening in Hammond. And then our top keywords, once again, farmer's market and the lighthouse. I don't know what it is. but
One change, I do know, one thing about Lighthouse was they hadn't done their Google listing yet. I actually had asked Kaylee at Lighthouse about this. Whenever they had first opened, we were the only thing that had anything about the restaurant. So that was like a good thing for us. And then, I was gonna say regarding the farmer's market, we actually, just a change on the website that we did. Were you gonna say that?
Yeah, I was gonna
Was
talk
I-
about the website a little bit and the
Okay.
SEO, yeah.
Cause I remember
So-
we talked, but I was like, I just wanna make sure.
So we had a call with, LA, is that how you say her name?
Yeah, Ally.
Alejandra, I just want to say her real name.
Yeah.
And part of what we did is we looked at a little bit of the traffic. So in this Squarespace site, you're able to look in the back end and see exactly where all the traffic is driving. So we realized the farmer's market was a little hidden in the site and it was getting most of the traffic. So we dropped it to the main navigation to kind of reorganize it. Also, like Ashley mentioned, we're reorganizing how some of the photography is looking because some of the images are cropping really weird. But probably one of the biggest things we learned, because we were looking at some SEO companies, because you have to do SEO with your website to stay relevant.
What is SEO?
SEO is search engine optimization.
thank
So it's how you show up in searches. We can't control what people are searching, but we can control how they find us, right? So part of that is using AI to do it. And Dara is really excited because we found out the spot in the back of Squarespace that we can start utilizing AI and training AI, like they can have their own professional account, which is gonna be more cost advantageous than to buy someone to do SEO, because they can train ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever to actually understand our audience, so we can constantly be updating meta tags, keywords, and descriptions, which will help us in searches when people are looking for businesses, events, concerts, whatever we're actually offering on the site. So that's a big part of it. So as she gets in there and starts to do some of the SEO work, which we really haven't gotten into that yet, correct? Okay, that's what I thought.
I've started compiling like an Excel spreadsheet, and then I looked at the back end today just to look, and I was like, oh, I need Kayla for this. I have
Yeah,
no business.
We can
being here.
actually train it and give it the last 4 Instagram posts and say, what can we do to target our audience better if this is the current content that we're using? And it will actually start spitting back suggestions. We might have to tweak it, but once it learns our market and how we want it to help us, it'll start doing a lot of the work that will make it easier for them to implement it. So that's gonna streamline a lot of what they're doing on the daily task. But on the traffic, let me just explain this part. So there were over 8,000 visits, which we don't have a lot of stats on the old site. We know that they weren't good though. So we're gonna really start having this more consistently. But unique visitors, which is a little over 6,000, that means actual visitors. So one person could have went back to the site multiple times, that counts as visits. But unique visitors was a little over 6,000. So I think that number is really important to kind of understand as well. And then mobile is 90% of the traffic, which is not shocking. I mean, that's for anyone, so that's what that other piece says.
And just for clarity, when you're talking page views, that's when they're clicking on a separate, like, because it's double, it's more than double than how many visitors.
Yes.
So it's, what is that
Yeah.
referring to?
So page views means that so there was over 6,000 users, meaning 6,000 individuals that actually went to the site. It's showing over 8,000 visits, right? But page views, somebody could be looking at multiple pages. So one visitor could be looking at multiple pages. So it breaks it down by page, visits, and unique visitors. Unique visitors are actually clicking on stuff. Like, we all look at the site probably 30 times in 2 days, you know what I'm saying? Because if they're in it and looking at it, so that's gonna count as visits, right? But when you start clicking on thing and you have a unique visit to the site, that's where that's a little over 6,000 hits. And then page views is over 13. So that means that people could be looking at multiple different pages. People could just be linking to a page too from a social media post on Facebook, not Instagram, because you can't link hard links.
Okay.
So I mean, this is the traffic we have to kind of pay attention to. It tells us what kind of information the consumer is looking for, how to market events, merchants, and all the above.
Good.
All right. Also, a thing that I noticed on here that I thought was super interesting and kind of, I think, means that it's something that we need to focus on is job openings. That page is actually being looked at. So right now, I currently have our intern Layla working on, that's why I emailed you, Todd, I'm gonna get to you, Chance. I'm gonna start really working on updating that job openings page because, you know, it's 502 visits to that page. People are looking for jobs and seeing us as a resource, so that needs to start getting updated. So that is something I noticed just from like doing this, this research for this report. Then the final thing is the really cute new Hot August stroll, design that Ashley Barato from our marketing team designed because none of us liked it. And so if you scroll all the way down, you can see it. I think it looks great.
So we kept the integrity of what was there before for consistency and just updated the branding colors. So she did that at our February meeting? Yes, because
March.
we did, the
That
March.
was April. April was joint.
Oh, April was the joint, that's right. Okay, sorry. Yeah, she
And
did
then
that in
February
March
got
meeting.
moved to March.
She did not charge us. She did that as a committee favor.
Oh, sweet, looks good.
Yeah, it matches the branding, right? So that's kind of the key.
All right,
That's it for me.
next up, design committee, Mary?
Did we do
Oh.
events? Oh,
We didn't do the joint. Do
The
we want,
marketing
do you want me to
committee.
hit on it really quick for events?
Sure.
And marketing? So, no one on my committee except for one person showed up for the joint meeting, so it was pretty much an events meeting. But the biggest thing we talked about were event dates and schedules, and then the brand for the concert series. So if you click on that, it should open it up. What browser do we need to be in to look at that?
You don't have Chrome, so it's Safari.
You can also look at it up here
So
on the TV.
Dara's been working on this, just kind of blending in with our current branding for the Hammond Live series. So we've made some edits. We probably are gonna do a few more, but you just kind of get an idea of the direction we're going in with
I think
this.
the main one that I finished up with like some advice from Ashley Barato is that one.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's actually Josephine Alfonso, who will be playing on June 13th.
Nice. Yeah, there were some color combos we were gonna ditch, but all in all. And then you just saw the Hot August Stroll branding, which there was also conversation about that lineup, which I was not involved in that part. We were just really there to kind of consult on the brand and have a conversation about influencers to use for events, possibly videographers to start doing some different content, either at an event or prior to an event to promote it. So both committees were trying to come up with different influencers and videographers that we could possibly hire or pay in some way to be a part of these events to promote them.
All right, and then you, Mary? Yep.
Okay, design committee, we're still in the thick of trying to review the City of Hammond UDC to come up with some suggestions to make it a little more clear. We're still talking about this checklist that would help people when they are trying to renovate or build something, just to make it clear what the steps are so that they don't skip the DDD review because it's happened a few times. And so we're just kind of working through that. We did review another, so we had previously reviewed a design review for Church's Chicken, and that was approved, but then they came back with wanting to remove some street trees. And we are not totally in agreement with the city, because part of the UDC states you can't remove all the trees, and the city said yes, they can remove them. So we're just trying to provide the information so that the city.
Roy did look at it, and he said that it was, I mean, obviously the trees are going to be removed, so it kind of is what it is. He said he was fine with it.
Aren't they already working over there?
They had exterior renovation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they submitted that separately, and then they came back and said, okay, we want to remove all the trees at the street. And there's clear verbiage that states you shouldn't remove all the trees, but the city said, yes, you can, so it's,
We got you.
anyway, that's where that is. And then just looking at some other things, like, people, again, this, like, God's House International Ministries, put a new awning and painted the building, and nothing was ever submitted. So we reviewed that and made some suggestions. It's already done. It's very bright.
Asking for forgiveness or?
No, Michelle just walked by and saw it, and so we're, yeah.
big problem that we have is, I think it's better now if a project comes through the building department, we get looped in, for the DD review. But a citywide problem is what needs a permit, and are people performing work without permits? And that answer to that is yes, and this was one of them.
So the awning should have required a permit. The painting doesn't, but the awning should have. And they did not get a permit. They put it up. Nothing
I
happened.
mean, even some of our prominent business owners.
Correct. So
do
there's
that on a
another,
regular
this other one
basis.
at Cypress Street, they replaced all the windows and didn't have a permit and didn't get any approval. So, just trying to work, again, that checklist and the procedures and trying to make sure the city is on the same page as we are with what the steps are.
If you're in the
We try
historical
to-
district,
What's that?
if you're in the historical district, then
Right.
they come.
Yeah, so anyway, those are the things we went through. We did talk about the development zone, Morris Coleman Development Zone. Everyone was in agreement with that. And we did, we'll talk about it later, but we did talk about the open committee seat, and Erica Hemphill had submitted for the design committee, and we all agreed that she would be a great asset, so. That's it on the design.
Is there any teeth on the permitting side? If they catch that it wasn't permitted and it's not something that would have been,
We have no finding authority.
Yeah,
not that?
we don't,
Okay.
but
I know the historic commission does, but I just don't know.
Yeah, it would be, that's why we want to change,
That's
revise our.
part of the reason, yeah, why we want to look at the UDC is so that we could write some of those things in, that if people aren't following the proper steps, that they're really.
And we also do have, to add to your report, we have a work session scheduled
Oh, yes.
at the end of this month to
That's
go,
right. We-
to go through that specifically.
We decided to have a work session to really dive into the UDC, because we've been looking at it, but it really is gonna take some dedicated time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next up is me for the farmer's market. So, let's see, old business, we talked about the marketing cards that everybody kind of distributed to different businesses to promote the farmer's market. And, people took more, and we're continuing to do that. Discussion of hosting a trial run for midweek market. There was some back and forth about, is it worth doing a midweek market, depending on how many people would be interested in it. Pretty much the decision was that there was enough people, and regardless of that, they were gonna go forward with it as a test run, and it would be free to those people that were involved in doing it.
Week market, like, during the
Yeah,
day
like
or
on,
in the evening?
during the day.
Okay,
Wednesdays from 3 to 6.
okay.
So they are gonna trial run that and see how it goes and see if it's something they wanna do more regularly. They discussed the budget. One of the main discussions for the budget is where to contribute dollars as far as marketing. The general consensus is to put it towards more social media than more traditional marketing avenues like radio and things like that. New business, the good old pavilion. So discussion of the pavilion and whether this is where a permanent market would go. We did a big old analysis of questions based on the needs of the market. And as those were going through, there was somewhat of a realization that the pavilion may not be the best use for a permanent market, and maybe possibly better for a contingency plan when the main, the park can't be used. However, this is a continued work in progress. We talked about a site visit. I don't even know, did we pick a site visit time or when?
We don't have a date yet, but they just finished, they're about to finish with the trusses.
Okay,
So they've
so,
kind of got an active construction zone under there before they're able to let a large group of people.
yeah, so to be continued. We'd like the people at the market to be able to site visit and just get a feel for it before any harder decisions or plans are made, I guess. Let's see, discussions, there was someone that brought up whether to pray at the beginning of the meeting to make people feel good, and the general consensus was that it's not appropriate for the meeting. So they decided against it. Discussion of guideline revisions, addition of vendor priority clause into the application review section of the application process. there was people from outside of the state that were interested in being at the market when the market prides itself in being considered local. And so there was discussion what local meant, if that meant borderlines of state, or how far you are from Hammond, or vice versa. The general consensus is that basically, it's a Louisiana market with the idea that if there is a need that isn't being met by current vendors, and there is somebody interested from out of state, that they would be able to apply and have, basically not a full year commitment, but if somebody else came about with the same product, it's possible that they may not have priority. Am I saying that right?
Kinda.
Yeah.
Is all of this surveys, or this has been,
So this is,
we're just getting like,
There's an active situation.
it's people who, it's the people from the market, and a lot of them were showing up to the actual meeting outside of the
okay,
board.
well, I'm just saying like the general consensus, is this the committee?
Committee.
Or is this everybody that attends?
This is the committee with people showing up from the market that are actually vendors that are showing up with their thoughts.
I mean,
So, and some of it had to do with the out-of-state, not having the same tax advantages and things like that, or I should say, not having to pay licensing and the cost of them to do business here. So that kind of was brought into the decision as well. So, there was a lot of back and forth about it.
So what was the final decision?
So the final decision that I understood, which I don't
Is there
have
a
the.
motion?
I believe we had a motion, I wish I had it in front of me, but it was basically that it was Louisiana, but there's, somebody can come in on a contingency of like 3 months, I don't know if it's 3 months or a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a full year commitment, so, but I don't have that in front of me. to
We
remember
are
that.
at like 15-minute mark
Yep.
till,
So,
or a little bit over.
all right, so that's pretty much that. Any questions? If I can answer them, or if I can, I can find out for you, but.
Just FYI, I was just talking to some people today about the market possibly being at the pavilion and about the restrooms or lack thereof. And, there were a few people and they said, well, can't people just use the restrooms at the DED? We don't think that would be that big of a deal if they aren't right there. So I'm just saying that was some general thoughts, opinions on the restroom situation. So,
it's a whole nother topic, but
I
I mean,
know.
it is not that far.
yeah.
And also, I mean, I would be willing to say, hey, at 9:30, if I can have my bar open. Somebody needs to use the restroom and get a drink.
Yeah.
I mean, but a block and a half is not that far to ask,
Right.
in my personal opinion. I mean, I went to French Quarter Fest on Sunday, and I walked 2 blocks on the festival grounds just to find a.
Yeah, I'm wondering, and this is just me saying this, but I'm thinking maybe more the actual vendors that maybe have the issue, just from a standpoint of they're leaving their booth, they're not,
Well, if
I mean,
you- we did a whole site analysis, looking at several different aspects of it. We can share that with you all, where we looked at the amenities, the facilities. There's more to it than to
Just the
move the
restrooms.
market, yes. So,
Yeah. And I mean, and there's some other things, before we get off on a tangent on that. I mean, does the parish own a portable trailer? If not, the parish could be possibly willing to rent a trailer on Saturdays. The porta potty, renting porta potties. I mean, there's different ways to skin the cat when it comes to that. But, to use the pavilion, especially weather covered. But, I mean, I'm open, look, y'all can put the market in front of Chino. I've said that numerous times. I don't care. I'm fine with it.
I think the primary agenda item for the May meeting will be discussion of the market location.
all right. Up next, we have merchants.
I'm gonna go quick with mine. We did have a meeting, and we did talk about the survey review, which we've kind of already touched. We did have 3 seats well, we had 3 applicants for the open seat for the Merchants Committee, and we decided to go ahead and take all 3. I think, do we have to vote on that today?
Do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we decided to extend, it'll put us at 9 members on the Merchant Committee, and it'll give us a little more variety. We discussed the Keep Louisiana Beautiful, which I'm sure all of y'all have seen. They were out here all week last week, and they did do a good job. They had a hell of a crowd. Was it Saturday morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think they were even overstaffed with people cleaning. They were looking, I think they might have been trying to get people to throw trash out so they could pick it up.
Throw your trash on the ground. I need to pick it up.
And then the last bulk of our meeting was the Morris Coleman Development Zone, which we've all been through together numerous times. So, do we need to vote on that now, or is that?
We'll vote on it. It's the last thing on our agenda.
I just didn't know if we needed to do it before Mary had to go.
I've got 10 more minutes.
Okay,
So you just zoom through residential.
word.
Hi. Okay, we had a residential meeting recently, and our topics of discussion were first the Morrison-Coleman Development Zone. And I think my read on the group was that they wanted to move past that and talk about some other topics, so we moved on. We talked about our budget for fiscal year 2026. We also talked about the projects that have been in request that are important to the committee, which is striping, trash cans, can liners, the things we keep bringing up every time we have a meeting. I did tell him that I met with the mayor. He'd made commitments at that meeting. I needed to follow up on those things, and I did, and we still haven't got those things taken care of just yet, but they're in progress. One of the things I keep coming up is striping, but the good news is I met with the chief of police before our meeting we had with this group, and he actually took on the striping priority himself. So he's gonna get with the person who does the striping, and at least, my request to him was at least, let's focus on crosswalks, cause that's obviously
Yeah.
public safety. And if we can get that accomplished, everybody would feel pretty confident about our ability to get some things done in the
And
city.
Todd, could you ask them to please fix the striping in front of the post office in La Coretta, the center line?
Yes, I can.
Yellow on one side and white on one side.
I can
So,
ask, yeah, absolutely, I can
That's
ask.
that's a hazard with people driving the wrong way
It
down the
is.
street.
That street scares me just up slightly. We also talked about, recommend the removal of the Christmas lights from downtown that they wrap the poles with.
How'd that
And
go? Did
all-
we recommend that yet?
I don't think they like them either, so we haven't recommended that yet. We haven't had an opportunity. The meeting we did yesterday was a little more,
Yeah.
in-depth about, the project funding from the state, so. Other than that, they wanted to talk about, labeling the neighborhoods. That was a big topic of discussion, and Michelle and her crew, did some research and pulled some data and was able to supply what that could look like. And I don't know where we are on that project, cause I haven't followed up with you on that project.
So basically, the residential committee is going to be
The work session.
leading, yes, we'll start a work session to have, it's basically gonna be a public history project, but it will officially name the neighborhoods of Hammond. So we know, like, you know, the Higher Cape Survey, Iowa Edition, Lily Adams Edition, those types of things. And so that will be taking shape over the next couple of months. They'll be using their funds to do that project, so they have between 10 to 15,000. So between actual signage to do that, and really the best process is to make this a collaborative project with council members in the city in mind. So that's an inclusive endeavor. So it's a little bit more than I think we were wanting to take on right now, but we are going to be very much leaning on the residential committee to take the lead on, and having basically a neighborhood representative lead for each of those neighborhood designations. So that will hopefully take shape. Basically, what I envision is there's going to be a page on our website. We'll talk about Hammond's historic neighborhoods. It's going to be history about how the neighborhood was developed, some essential people. Officially naming the neighborhoods would require an ordinance by the council, which they've done before, actually, to name the parking malls in downtown. And then the actual durable signage that designates those historic
I know,
neighborhoods.
and imagine a map as well as where the cutoffs
Yeah,
are,
so it's-
right? Yeah.
It's more extensive than just saying, we're gonna put a sign right here in front of our.
Right.
It is 5:40, just so everyone knows.
That's all I got. Thank you.
All right. Moving into old business, discussion of budget for fiscal year 2026.
Okay, so you've got the budget here. It is pretty accurate with what I anticipate our needs are for fiscal year 2026. I did include a cover letter, which is a PNG when you click on the Excel file, so it's all in there. I did get clarification on our fund balance, so our current fund balance right now is $481,000. That's money in our savings account that we can budget with, but I have not done so this fiscal year. We're not dipping into our fund balance. Our property taxes are estimated to be $437,000. That is per the Tangi assessor. This is their 2025 report that they pull for all political subdivisions that are taxing districts, and this is our number. And that is on par with the renewal, with the reassessments that were done last year. I kind of envision seeing increases there. We are expecting more revenue from events because we are adding on the live concert series, and we are strategically looking at our events for revenue generating opportunities. And then the farmer's market is kind of a modest increase from last year with our projected revenue from that, which brings us to $571,000 in revenue for fiscal year 2026. I do want to keep in mind that there's a 28,000 sponsorship goal that we have for our events, inclusive of all of them. This is something that we spent a lot of time talking about with the events committee this month, and Hillary is assisting us with that. Restructuring our sponsorships so they are more event-based, because that is easier, one, easier to manage, two, easier to kind of provide a list of perks around, and it generally just makes it easier to manage a sponsorship when it is attached to an event, because it's kind of
In and out.
start and stop, pretty easy. In terms of expenditures, our total expenditures are at $552,000. I will quickly go over ones that have more than a 25% increase. I'll start with contracted services because that's 23%, but we are budgeting a little bit more here so that we're able to hire any consulting services that we might need as we go through revising ordinances or any special projects as they might come up. So that is what that line item is kind of for. We have only modestly increased our advertising budget to $40,000 with a strategic focus on digital marketing. And making sure that we are really implementing our rebrand the best way that we can. You'll see quite the increase for expenditure for our events because, we anticipate making more revenue here, but you'll see between our event revenue and our expenditure, we would still be spending around $9,000 on events. So, we're not quite breaking even on that, but if we wanted to increase our sponsorship goal, we could, but I figured since we were already kind of under budget, we wouldn't have to break our necks about that one. We're budgeting a little bit more for travel, education, and training, and building our partnership with the Historic District. We are inviting them along for some of our Main Street conferences, and also our staff attending some of those conferences as well. So those opportunities extending to more staff members and professional development. Would also like to extend that to our board members should scheduling allow. Another increase you'll see is on maintenance, building, and grounds. We have an old building, and our AC actually went out before I left for Philadelphia. Thankfully, we got a company to fix it temporarily, but we may have some additional costs for our building. Pest control, and also kind of making sure that our office is workable for our staff on a regular basis.
You don't have essential air in there? It is,
No central.
probably can be split unit and be way cheaper, I bet.
Our electricity utility cost has gone up pretty significantly, so budgeting a little bit more for that. I actually did check, and we do have welcome sign electricity being applied to our budget, which is something that I'm going to correct. We've increased our general operating expenses as our subscriptions have gone up, and to give us a little bit more flexibility in, I think our merch purchases maybe are under here. Farmers market expense increased a little bit. We are giving them a little bit more programming money.
72%, what is that, why is that?
So it was, we budgeted 9,000 last year,
Right.
and it's 15,000 this year. Between musicians, other supplies, they are having a smaller dedicated marketing budget of, I think it boils down to like maybe $250 per month. So we actually moved that out of our marketing budget and gave the farmers market a little bit of funds. However, we still want to give the farmers market some input in how the money is spent, but we still want to follow best practices as it relates to how those monies are spent. So it more healthfully, I think, distributes the share so that the market has a little bit more marketing dollars to work with, since it is kind of a bigger thing. We are keeping these, this actually is supposed to be 15.
And I have to leave in 4 minutes, just FYI. It's okay, but I mean, if you have a.
Do we need a
if I'm
quorum
not
to
here-
vote?
We have a quorum to vote.
If I'm not here.
She's not here yet.
Yeah.
Only, this did not update. I'm seeing it now, because
I'd like to touch on something with the budget. And I understand the events, but that, we got a $50,000 increase on events. Okay, I personally, would like to see the sidewalk improvement budget increase more than that. We have sidewalks that aren't even, and I know it's a process, but our east side of town, I watch people walk, and I know I've said it before, I watch people try to navigate their way to get into downtown, and I can tell some of them are employees. We should at least have sidewalks poured to Waffle House or True Value. I would like to see our sidewalk improvement budget, just to give, at least to give employees a better opportunity to get to work.
Yeah,
I'm not
so
saying
actually,
pull
I'm
sidewalk.
finding that
thing.
the budget that y'all have is not the final budget that I was working in, so I actually did put 75,000 in for sidewalks, which is a little bit more, but this is really where our partnership with the city comes into play, because
Right.
sidewalk improvements are a capital outlay item, and there are many, many, many ways to fund sidewalk improvements, because especially along a state highway, there are many ways to
Yeah,
fund them.
and look, I understand, but, I see them over here repairing sidewalks, which obviously needs to be done as well. But what about, we don't have any existing sidewalks. to
Where do we
get-
not have existing sidewalks?
Oh, once you get right here, you're walking on the road, or you're in the grass, or in a ditch.
I mean, I do walk over here all the time. There are sidewalks over here. They're not in the best.
You go past First Guaranty Bank
Yes.
a little bit.
I do all the time.
So you're telling me where I live, I have sidewalks?
I'm saying that I live in the Iowa edition. I mean, I walk
Yeah.
on Chestnut, I walk.
I know, but I'm just saying, I'm just
Right.
telling you, I watch people that are
Right.
actively
No,
trying to.
I think you're bringing up a good concern.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah, this way.
right,
Well,
so
this way.
all the way down there, so our district stops at Chestnut.
Correct.
And so you're bringing up a valid concern that we would want to bring to the city to say, how do we have better connectivity from the downtown development district into our residential areas so that we
Right.
have that better draw?
Because I'm just waiting for somebody to get clipped.
Right, yeah. No, I agree. I think in sidewalk,
I mean, my
New
mailbox, I can't even
sidewalks.
keep a mailbox in front of my house, which, I mean, that's a minor issue. cause they take my mailbox out. What happens when they take out the guy on the bike or the lady walking with a book sack trying to get to work? It's just, we
Right.
should have sidewalks.
So,
Yes. I
Twenty
completely-
twenty-five.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I think I'm speaking from
The district, where our district line is.
where our district line is, and also making sure that we understand if we are going to want to actually vocalize support for something, that we have to dedicate, that is an outside of district support
Yeah,
thing that we
right
have to
here.
kind of focus on.
Right.
So really, I mean, what I would suggest is, what I will ask actually is I will say, in terms of capital outlay, where is the city funding new sidewalks for this upcoming fiscal year? And that falls on to Chuck Spangler to decide where those new where the sidewalk dollars are spent for new sidewalks. So I'm not trying to be adversarial about it. I just
No,
wanna make sure
I
that-
understand, I'm just,
Yeah.
you know, it's just, not that I have one employee, yes, but I see it all day. Everybody has employees that are trying to come into town
Right.
that are at risk because of,
Right.
you know,
well, this is my question. So,
so it might not affect our budget. I just wanted
Yes,
to,
yeah.
well, my question is, we can want these sidewalks all day, and if the city is choosing to put that money to other areas, the benefit of us having money is to be able to kind of fill those gaps. So if there's any areas that are really bad, we can do it ourselves, right? If the money's
The
there.
gap, there's a lot of gaps within our district.
Yeah.
That's the point of us budgeting these funds. So, for example, we have all these utility companies that have come in, they're putting these stub outs on these intersections, and, I mean, like I said, in terms of funding sidewalk improvements, I do not want to have the DDD's budget exclusively fund a sidewalk, because there are so many other ways that they can be funded. So we are budgeting this to leverage to say, we have money set aside. We can say, maybe it's a grant where it requires a match. We have the ability to do that on our own.
Right.
Or we have the ability to say, okay, City of Hammond, maybe you have just a fund for sidewalk improvements, then those locations have yet to be defined. How can we leverage some of our highest need areas with a 50-50 split?
Yeah.
And I think that was a big lesson, I think, from our conversation yesterday, is to say, we just have to break apart every opportunity that is available to us with the city in the most micro way. To say, okay, you have sidewalks, we have a fund, can we go 50-50 on something? That's really the point of this, is to say, budgeting these funds gives us the ability to do something that we really haven't done before, is to prioritize our own sidewalk improvements, because we had not budgeted for sidewalk improvements prior. It had really only been responsive to our three-way share program with.
Okay. So this is a
property owners in the
negotiating
city.
tool to have the money. there.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
All right.
Cool.
So that's kind of the goal with that, like I said, and I think above and beyond that, like I said, we're not budgeting with our fund balance in mind, which is sitting at 481,000. So we'll see, these numbers are not, there's something up with these numbers.
Were you working within a different Excel?
I was,
That's probably why.
yeah, so these are the actual numbers. So 570,000 revenue and 568,000 total for our expenses for this upcoming fiscal year. That is, that's the budget proposal for fiscal year 2026.
Okay, so do we have to make a motion to approve this?
So this is discussion, and then we'll move to adoption and new business.
All right, well, we want to wait for Chance?
Yeah, we have to.
Well, you can move to the resolution to adopt a millage rate, but,
No, we'll wait.
yeah, okay. Also, the residential allocations, like I mentioned, for the past, I think, 2 years, These funds don't roll over into our fund balance if they're unspent, they roll over into their separate project account. So would be a new allocation for the residential committee in addition to those project funds, which brings that total committee spendable budget to 15,000.
Very nice. Think we can make an impact with that.
All right. So before we go ahead and decide whether to approve this, but any discussion around this? Any
The mill-
comments? Other than sidewalk?
I think we got it all in.
Well, next we're talking about the millage first, before we
Yeah.
vote on the budget.
So, new business A.
New business A, resolution to adopt millage rate of 14.13 for tax year 2025.
So we are finally in a position where we are approving the millage renewal or adopting the millage rate with our budget in mind. This is a goal that I've had for a while, is to do both these things at the same time, so I'm glad to work towards it. Our millage rate is 14.16. 14.1, well, our maximum millage rate is 14.16. Our current rate is 14.13, and that is the highest that we have gone. We actually haven't gone up to 14.16. Basically, this rate is applied to all the properties within the district. That allows us to tax them, that allows us to do our work. We are required to adopt a resolution every calendar year to continue our taxing authority. And it is up to the board to decide to adopt the resolution to do so. You'll see the resolution in the packet. If you click on the link for this item, we have to supply the resolution and the votes of the board to the assessor, and that is delivered to the legislative auditor. This document is also notarized it's notarized before we're able to submit it. So all the documentation that we have is here as a part of our responsibility as a taxing authority. We did also advertise this meeting agenda in the newspaper for the public meeting notice requirements.
All right, question. So the max is 14.16, correct?
Per our statute.
Okay.
If we want to change the rate, that is a different process.
Let's not change it like that.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, 14.13 to 14.16.
What is the actual difference in
Yeah,
numbers?
what's the actual difference?
In math, I would love to take a course on mill
Understand that.
conversions, $2. I've been trying to figure that out for 6 years.
Okay,
It's
it's
like-
just a question.
Yeah.
You're almost right there at the threshold. So if there was an actual dollar amount or a potential dollar amount,
Right.
what are we talking about?
I don't even know. I don't know. Because this is what I get from the assessor.
We're talking $100,000, talking $700,000.
A mill is one-tenth of a cent for every, if I remember correctly, 1/10 of a cent for every dollar of property value. So we are here.
It's just a question.
Yeah, so basically, the total taxable value is this, but between exemptions, this 437, that's the number that.
Okay. I just wanted to ask a question because we're trying to understand it better.
Yeah, and honestly, they do these like millage reassessment webinars every calendar year, but taxing rates and mills has been something that I like. There are finance people that only do that.
Yeah. And then I know this is way on a political landscape, but, that's been the idea being tossed around of doing away with property taxes in general on a state level. how does that, would that have any, let's just hypothetically say that's gonna happen. What kind of effect would it have on this?
If the state removes the ability for municipalities and political subdivisions to have taxing authority, then we do not have a budget.
Okay, I mean, it's being, you know it's being talked about, I mean,
Right, I mean, I get that.
well,
I think it creates a lot of confusion and implications about how we fund government. Because government is funded either by property taxes or sales taxes. And, I mean, we already have programs in place to reduce property tax burden. But, I mean, maybe we need to, look specifically at the policies that are being discussed and the implications of them, but
and I don't know if they have a time frame out, but I mean, it's been in the news, I pay attention to it.
But in the interim, and until that happens, we need to vote on this measure, don't we?
yeah.
So
Okay.
let's move to
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the millage rate at 14.13.
Second?
I'll second.
All right. Justin Cash, Todd DeLon,
Yes.
Chance Kinchin,
Yes.
Mary Gito, Kayla Morgan,
Yes.
John Exnicius.
Yes.
Hillary Rochek.
All right, next up, approval of the budget.
I make a motion to approve the budget that we just discussed
Second?
for the fiscal year July 2025 to June
Second.
2026.
2026, yeah.
I'll second that.
Todd, second, okay. Thank you, Dara. All right, Justin Cash, Todd DeLon,
Yes.
Chance Kinchin,
Yes.
Mary Gito, Kayla Morgan,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Yes.
Hillary Rochek.
All right,
And last is,
now we have approval of the 2025 open committee seats. We want to talk through these, or?
I can quickly say who was discussed in the committees and who will be voting to appoint on each committee.
Okay.
Both of y'all already kind of explained y'all's committees. We didn't speak about the events, though. Erica Hemphill was approved by the design committee. Corey Downing, Devin Masters, and Logan Torrance were approved by the merchant committee to be added to their committee. And then we had a lot of people added to the events. So we had Julia Bubrig, Katie Sewell, Leah Doty, Leanne Miller, Devin Gabriel, and Alana Guillory, all approved to be added to the events committee. So y'all just need to vote on that.
Let's do one.
So how are we taking,
You can do,
the events committee, how many people are currently on there?
we have Melissa.
This will bring the committee up to 9 seats, so it was at
So,
7.
No, I
okay,
think it brings it up to 11,
Oh, to 11,
actually.
yeah.
To
so it's
11.
a bigger
Yeah.
committee.
So it was kind of a similar situation to y'all's, like we either had to vote just one or all 3 of y'all's,
Yeah.
I think. And so like we either had to vote a certain number of this group or all of them, and we decided on all of them.
so,
So we
So-
can vote that way here as well?
so I could, if I want, so I would like to make a motion to approve all 3 merchants committee nominees.
So we can actually have a motion that would approve the slate.
The slate.
I have it typed out,
Okay.
so I can read it real quick. It just says, whoever made a motion to appoint Erica Hemphill to the design committee, Corey Downing, Devin Masters, and Logan Torrance to the merchant committee, and Julia Bubrick, Katie Sewell, Leah Doty, Leanne Miller, Devin Gabriel, and Alana Guillory to the events committee.
All right.
Do you want to make that motion, Chance?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve all of them.
Okay. And then
Like
Todd
that.
second. Okay.
Second.
Y'all got one special one on there,
Justin Cash, Todd DeLon,
Yes.
Chance Kinchin.
Yes.
Mary Gito, Kayla Morgan,
Yes.
John Exnicius.
Yes.
Hillary Rochek.
I'll do those phone numbers for you too. I don't know if you noticed that.
All right.
Thank
Two
you.
that you were missing.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, do we have any announcements? The only thing that, before we leave, we are looking for, the Historic Commission is looking for a board member, so. did you-
Commissioner, yeah.
Yeah,
We're putting it in our, I already have it in our merchant newsletter. It'll go out tomorrow.
So if y'all can think of anybody that could be someone who would,
Could y'all shoot me an email with the requirements?
Yes,
Yes,
it'll.
she's gonna post.
Yeah, you
Or to
can-
be posted, okay,
yeah.
okay.
You want to do it?
No, I just,
Quite the turn of events.
all right. If there's no public comment, I'm
Might
gonna
be
make a
able to
motion to
recruit somebody.
adjourn. All in favor?
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Aye.
you, everybody.
I gotta go work.
Me too.
I haven't gotten a phone call, which is surprising since one of my